questions to ask, right? I campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys. I guess we don't stream on Twitter anymore because Twitter's doing a madness. It's just not allowing us. But guys, welcome back to TACT Eagle, the show where we talk about all the tactics in the upcoming game. Next game, we are away to Tottenham, a ground that I've been to 3 times already. I've seen a 4-0, I've seen a 2-0, and I've seen a 3-0.
So you haven't seen a score?
I haven't seen a score yet. So it's not looking good, man. And also, Dan's misses ain't coming, so it's definitely not looking good right now.
Well, unless anyone's got a ticket, let me know, because her record is ridiculous. 3-0 at home to Spurs, 2-0, 2 all away at Arsenal, and 2-0 away at City. So I'm quite keen to get it to come along.
Well, if she does, I'll buy her a season ticket, like I said.
I've tried.
Without any success. Clearly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Roy was a manager, so it's not exactly. Yeah.
Well, we've got Super Ollie Glasner now. So, before we kick off into this, how refreshing was it, that Burnley game, to actually have a new manager and have a completely new way of thinking?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I mean, even with the personnel that we had, I thought he played them in a way that suited them the best and also minimised their negatives. Like Joel Ward's a prime example. Right centre-back, I think he was excellent. Like, his strengths are his aerial ability and his positioning and his tackling, I think, are his main attributes, and he was able to show that. And his negatives are the fact that he is quite slow and he gets caught out quite a lot in that sense. And at right centre back, he didn't need to do that as much. So he's obviously got them figured out in terms of how best to use them. And also, I think a very underrated thing, like we could talk about, he plays a 4-3, 3-4-3 or whatever, but I think it's the mentality as well. The mentality of just wanting to go forwards, wanting to create chances. When we all saw in his interviews about how his main thing was trying to score goals, which is pretty much the opposite that we've been accustomed to since the beginning of the 17-18 season, even arguably before that, apart from Vieira's first season, where we've just been used to pretty dull defensive football, really.
Yeah, and even before that, we had Allardyce. Granted, we attacked very well under Allardyce, but still, it was only counter-attacking, wasn't it? So it wasn't ever complete domination, let's say, like we had against Burnley.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we tried it twice. Obviously, the board went pear-shaped very quickly. Vieira, unfortunately, his second season didn't quite go to plan.
Definitely. Quickly, let's jump into the predicted 11. So, as you can see there, Dan is clearly vibing to the tunes. Before we jump into this, let's go through the injuries. So, for Spurs, Ryan Sessegnon is out for a while because he's got a thigh injury. Fraser Forster is also out. Pedro Porro is out. Solomon is also out. But Destiny Udogie is fit and ready to play. If you look at us,
is. Yeah. Oh, damn! I thought he was out.
Unfortunately, he's fit to play on with this one. On to Palace's injuries. Chet Decore, who is still out, has signed a new contract with Crystal Palace. He is now a Crystal Palace player until he gets sold. His release clause is triggered, or until 2029. A fat contract extension, if you ask me, which is very much needed. I think a little bit underrated, I'd say. Signing Eze, Elise, and Decore all onto new deals this season is gone under the radar a little bit. I think that some props needs to be given to Parish with that one.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think even if we're not necessarily looking to keep him here until 2029, it protects his value and means that we're in a better bargaining position, I think. So, yeah. Credit where credit's due. We've had a lot of negatives to say, but credit where credit's due. Well done on getting them sorted out.
Yeah, if the rumours are true, apparently the release clause is I think is the same as Eze and Elise's, which is 70 million. So to be fair, you could get more, but you definitely could also get less if you didn't sign that deal in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up is Mark Gay, who has picked up, or who actually has to go into surgery now because his knee injury is actually a lot worse than they thought he was. Why on earth didn't the medical team see it was bad and operate on him straight away? Because now he's out for another 2 months on top of the month he's already been out. So if he got injured, they operated on him straight away, he'd be back next month. But now we've got to wait another 2 months. So Mark's probably not going to play another game this season.
No, it's not ideal.
This medical team is rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, hopefully going forwards, with fitness levels improving, hopefully we'll just see less injuries. So
yeah,
what can we say on that one?
Rob Holding is also out. Michael Elise is out. Will Hughes is back for this game. It says Joachim Andersen's got a thigh injury here, but he's back for this game. Ratsaki, there's no return date, and potentially. Oh, is Dan gone? I think Dan's gone.
No, I'm here. Sorry,
Dan.
I was just redoing my camera. I was just redoing my camera because it was plan up. Sorry about
that. Yeah. So Will Hughes is back. Joachim Andersen is back. I didn't know he was gone. Ratsaki, there's no return date, but a cheeky Ebere Eze will be on the bench, and that has been confirmed by Oliver Glasner.
Nice.
We've got to take every positive we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, let's go into this actual predicted 11. So, I've basically gone for the same team as we played against Burnley.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think you can. I mean, you could maybe make an argument for França playing instead of Eddie, but I think that's neither here nor there. To be honest,
I think Eddie played quite well.
Yeah, I think so too. I've always been a fan of Eddie. People know that.
I think he's always. I think he's always been good on the wing as well. Funny enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think. Well, we knew. Well, he played in the front two at Celtic, and like he generally.
Oh, Dan, you've gone. Dan, I think has he gone or have I gone? Someone's gone. People in the comments, please say if I've gone or if Dan's gone, please. But I think what he's trying to say. Are you back?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back now. I think the Wi-Fi's had a little wobble.
Right, so
yeah, no, I think
he said he played. He said the last thing I heard is 2 up front.
Yeah, he played in a 2 up front at Celtic, where he was able to peel to the left a little bit, and that enabled him to basically do what he's good at and finishing. Like I've always said it, Eddie, I think, is very good when he's receiving the ball and facing the opponent. He's rubbish if he's facing his own goal, unlike Mateta has been recently. So that's why I think him and Eddie and Mateta have been so front, was just because, again, Glass is just playing to this. So, what is this? Is this a joke, man?
You know why your Wi-Fi's moving crazy today. But yeah, I think even under Vieira, when he played out wide, he ended up scoring more goals from out wide in that season, if I do remember correctly. So he's actually pretty decent out wide. And to be fair, whenever he's played up front with Mateta, they've both looked very good. So why not keep that going, really? On to Spurs. I've gone with Vicario in goal because he's probably within a shout for goalkeeper of the season with probably Allison and the Luton keeper. I can't. His name slips my mind, but those guys have been out unreal this season so far. On the left, I've gone with Adoge because he's an incredible left back. Really? Oh, Dan's really gone now. Van der Ven, Romero, and Emerson as the right back, with Basuma and Sarr as a DM pivot, with Son, Madison, and Kulusevski as the midfield three, with the Pigeon up front. Pigeon being Mr. Richarlison. To be fair, that is the exact same formation that we used to play. So we know what the strengths are with it, that you have got two players free at all times deep, but that does sometimes overshadow the fact that you've got a little bit, you haven't got enough going forward sometimes. But I think with the standard of players, are you okay? Are you back now?
Yeah, I'm going to say actually it's not dial up. It's something worse. It's Virgin Media. That's what it is.
I've got Virgin Media.
Oh, they're awful. They're terrible. Like the amount of money that people pay for it is crap. Anyway, sorry, just venting a little bit.
Well, people in the chat have seen this, but let me read through the team for Dan. Only Pixels Premium for Dan. Big up yourself, Pat. So we've gone with Vicario, Adoge, Van der Ven, Romero, Emerson, with a midfield three of Basuma, Sarr, and Madison. Kulusevski and Son out wide with a Pigeon up front. I mean, Richarlison.
You know, they actually call him that in Brazil. They call him Pombo, which is pigeon in Portuguese.
Yeah, that's why I put it in there. Would you have gone with that for them?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got.
Sweet.
Well, I mean, I did have Davies in there, so I didn't realise that Udogie was actually fit, so that's a bit of a pain. But
yeah, because Tottenham also released some training videos, and he was training. So
that's a shame.
You know, it's probably one of the better left backs in the league this year as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want me to go first, or should I? Or me or I?
You can go. Yeah, you can go first because I went first last time.
Me or me? All right,
myself, and I.
Dan laughs like Santa.
What?
I don't know. I think it's really the high. It's really the high pitch stuff. Anyway, let me. You know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to do something a little bit different.
Go for it.
I'm going to start with the images. Yeah, we're going to start with images today. Let me share my screen. Here are some images. So, I'm going to start off by saying I did watch back the 490 because it was a great watch. And if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. Because why not? Because we never win that well. But when I watched the whole game, you realise that if I'm talking about defending this week, against Burnley, we didn't actually do that much defending. So I can't really go off of anything in that game.
Yeah.
However, one thing I can do is I can go and watch how Oliver Glasner played Frankfurt against Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Which, at this point, under Nagelsmann, is a very similar playing style to what Ange is doing at Tottenham. A very high line, overlapping fullbacks, a lot of people in the box, a lot of pressure. And that's exactly what we're going to be facing because Ange loves to play a high line. Both fullbacks go, so he's basically playing a back two most of the game with some midfielders in front of him. So I thought it was a pretty good comparison to do so. So in the red is Bayern Munich and in the black is Eintracht Frankfurt. Before I even go into this, I'm going to say that the score was only 1-0. And this was the season that Lewandowski smashed the goal record with 36 goals, I think, that season, where he should have won the Ballon d'Or that year, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So this is the year that he was killing it, and Bayern Munich had an insane team. I think they had Sane, Kimmich, Gnabry, Musiala. This was Musiala's debut game as well, I think.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of ballers in this team. So really, to only lose 1-0 to a team like this is pretty good going.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So one thing you can see with Glasner is something that we definitely saw. Whenever we were setting up in a defensive line, this back line, the 5 here were always in a straight line and very formal with their formation. Every single time they set up for a goal kick, our back 5 was boom, straight. Everyone's in position. Everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone's marking their man. So you can see here, this player here is zonally marking their space. He's touch tight. He's had a look and he started to go over to the number 7 over here, which is good. This number 10 knows that there's a guy behind him, so he's already on the move. And it's very well zonally marked. So this guy, one of the centre backs, has picked up his man, touch tight, and everyone else is marking their space. This is made possible because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the midfielders and the striker all occupying this space. This is where Glasner wants to control the ball and have everyone there. You can go out wide. That's absolutely fine. Because if they cross it in, we've 100% got more bodies than the other team in there. So that's what Glasner wants to do. He wants to pack out the middle, so you have to go out wide, so there's no easy route through the middle. So, how did Bayern Munich try and accomplish this? They tried originally, passing in between, nice one-touch passing that we have seen Bayern Munich do before, but there's just too many people in a crowded space. The team's just too compact. There's no way to pass through the lines. So what did Bayern Munich do? They used world-class passing from Kimmich to try and put the ball over the top. So, for example, this ball here has gone from Kimmich and they've dumped it about here in the box. So you can imagine this being James Maddison against Tottenham, for example. And we've seen Maddison do this for Leicester. We've seen him do it already for Tottenham as well. So this is a pretty good comparison, if you ask me. But the reason why I'm so drawn to this back line, how everyone's marking their space, as me and Dan said, we do not like zonal marking whatsoever, but it does work sometimes. So technically, this number 10 has got 2 players in his area, but this ball's come over the top, and because he's commanding his area, he's gotten back, he's up against 2 people, but he's actually headed away the ball very well because he's stayed under this man and the ball was slightly too high for the number 7. So he's clearly gotten there and he's headed the ball away, which is good. And you can see that you've still got 2 people touch tight here. He's still got his space and you've got a 3-man covering like a rebounded shot, let's say. So if he does very well, he could potentially get the ball onto this player. Unfortunately, the header, because he's running away from himself, the header doesn't actually go as far as he wants it to. So I think this is Goetze. He runs in here, grabs the ball, and you can see again, pressing out, stopping that shot. With his pressing, he's also stopping that shot. So Trapp really only has one thing to look at, and that's a low-driven shot through here. But with Bayern Munich, you have got world-class players. So Goetze, even though he's not looking at the ball, he whips across here for Musiala to run onto. And this is why I'd say the first mistake in the Glasgow system comes up. Because of the zonal marking, no one's picked up Musiala. He's literally standing on the penalty spot. If it was me, I'd want this player to be with Musiala and this player probably in the middle of these 2. But remember, this is a game that Glasner's played in the past, so I'm sure he's learnt from this. So the ball comes in here. Musiala headers it, and it goes narrowly over the bar. Because he's literally got a free header in a prime space to get a free header, really. But what you can say is, even though he's had a free chance here, if the ball didn't go to him, where else would it go? He's too far behind. He's not in play at all. I think he's actually offside. And everyone else is being outnumbered by Frankfurt players here. And this was basically how they defended all game. And Bayern Munich, the only way they could get a shot away is just shooting from long. And that's what they were doing all game. I think they attempted 20 shots this game, and every single one outside the goal that they scored was outside of the box. So it just shows how compact he is when defending his area, and every shot was from like the corners of the boxes. So every shot was about from here. So that space that he wants to keep in the middle is very secure, and they can't get a shot off because it's too tight. But they can try and shoot from here. But Trapp's a great goalkeeper, and he just wouldn't let something like that unless it's a worldie go in. Where I think that some more similarities lie is how they scored their goal. So this is Kimmich, and this is Leroy Sané. So remember, as we said, you got the 5. So the one player's off the pitch here. So there's 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you got your 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 in midfield. And then your 1 here. Oh, I made a mistake. Maybe that's the left back. And this guy's not here. So let me just cross that out. So he's made a great pass to Kimmich here. Obviously, he's gone to press. But this is where I see the similarities. Richarlison loves to run in behind. And he likes making a run from midfield, like a swooping run like that. And that's exactly what Sané does here. And basically, Kimmich waits for this guy to try and intercept Sané, steps this way, genuinely steps to the right, 1 step, and Kimmich plays a killer ball straight through the lines for Sané to run onto, and basically gets here and finishes at low corner. And I'd say that's something that Glasner needs to look at, because I can see Richarlison and Maddison linking up like this, because I'm sure that this is how they scored their first goal against Brighton. This exact play.
Yeah, I think so. They make a lot of chances on it. I think Spurs are most dangerous kind of like in the middle of the pit. Like,
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Like the edge of like the attacking third and the middle third.
Yeah, because they sort of play in like a like a mid block. When they have the ball, they're sort of in like a mid block location in the pitch. They're sort of like occupying the middle third of the pitch. But then the fact they get from the middle third straight into your box very quickly with 1 or 2 passes, that's where it becomes very dangerous when you're talking about Tottenham. Let me go into the thing here. All right. So we're back here again. Let me make that bigger for you guys. Let me get my notes very quickly. So, with how Tottenham play, how do we defend it? And the first thing I'd say is make sure that everyone is picking up their man. So let me make these people slightly smaller. I wish you could just highlight everyone and just make it all smaller.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit annoying having to do this every single time. So, very much so. So, how do Tottenham build up their attacks? They've got multiple ways. As I said, the one where they run in behind. So you see the pigeon, holding the back line. Maybe we're in like a situation like this. You see Maddison here with a ball or something like that. Something a little bit like... So you can see Tottenham in sort of something like this when they attack. It's a bit strange, but it does work because they've just got so many bodies forwards.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we've talked about the one in behind. So let me get a ball here quick. So if Maddison gets here and he's got time on the ball, you can see him taking a touch, finding the man, and putting the ball in, and the pigeon runs onto it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Spoken about that already. Another thing with Tottenham, they've got a lot of players that like to shoot. And that's important to know because both of their wingers are inverted wingers. Son loves to cut in and shoot. Kulusevski loves to cut in and shoot. Maddison does swap with Son quite a lot. So you can see Son picking up the 10 and Maddison out here. You can see Maddison from a situation like this cut in and shoot.
Yeah.
So with how we said they run the channels. So there's a half space in here, for example. So if you can see that place that I've highlighted. Can you see that, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I've highlighted?
Yeah.
So this space here, I can see Maddison running in here. And granted, you see Anderson following the man. But what you can see is Maddison will stand you up, cut inside, and then have a shot at the far post. That is Maddison, Kulusevski, Pigeon, and Son. That is what they do every single time. If they're in the box in sort of this area on each side, they will cut in and shoot every single time. So John Stone's going to be diving for that far post a hell of a lot. Also, Richarlison, his hold-up play is actually a lot better than most people give him credit for. So he will stand here, back to goal. Anderson or Richards or whoever will be there. But what you can see is both wingers come in very narrow, something very similar to what Glasner wants to do with us. Both wingers will come in very narrow, and the fullbacks will be holding the width here. So you could see Maddison popping the ball into Richarlison, one touch pops it to Kulusevski, takes a touch and swings it far post.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, for their main ways of attacking, is if they're breaking down one wing, let's say Adoge is down here, he's beaten Munoz and he's running away from him. You can see Porro, Kulusevski, Pigeon, Son, and then Maddison holding the edge of the box. You can see 4 people running into the box every single time. They love to flood people into the box. It does leave them very exposed for a counter-attack, and I'm sure that Dan may allude to that later on when saying how we can attack them, how we can hurt them, for example. But let's say Porro's Emerson, though, because he's still not back. But he'll still play the same way. He's just not as good as Porro, but he'll play the same way. So this is what you can see. So how do you stop it? I think the way to stop it is maybe a little bit anti-Glasner, but when they are like this, if they do run away from you, try and stay as close as possible to every single one of these runners. Because how many times have you seen it where someone's clean through, they've got an open goal, and the defender just gives them a little nudge, and that's enough to throw you off. It's not a penalty, but it's just enough to throw you off. I'd say that when they're running in behind, you need to stay as close as possible and try and do any little dirty trick you can to try and set them off balance. Because how many times has Son scored against us after he's faked an injury? I couldn't tell you how many times. I don't like that guy at all. So I think man marking, but if you are zonally marking, if they get away from you, do a cheeky little cynical foul. Definitely don't do too many to get yourself sent off or to get yourself a card too early. I'm looking at you, Adam Wharton. I think that this is probably the best way to counter this. Also, Dan's probably going to talk about it a little bit more than I will. But when they're passing around the back, they are very slow. They are very slow when passing around the back, and it can be dispossessed. So you have to press from the front as well. And if we put a similar way of playing as we did against Burnley, with a confidence, with that different playing style in mind to try and still score goals, I think that would be a very good thing against Tottenham, because they may not expect us to press them. They may not expect us to play like how we might if we play confidently, because we're going there. They know we've only scored 1 goal there ever since they've built the stadium. They may know that they've smashed us every single time we've played there.
Yeah.
So they might be thinking about this. Off previous, they'll come here and defend, but maybe Glasner could shock them, press from the front, and maybe leave this game with a little result out there. I would take a point before a ball's even kicked, but as Dan said, he's quietly confident about this game.
Yeah, I am. And I'll talk about a little bit why I'm quietly confident, although I said that before I knew Udogie was available. So
is there anything you want to talk about with the defence before we go on to the attack?
No, I mean, yeah, I think like with like Udogie and Porro, I think they're so key to the way that they attack as well. I think that's solid.
Cool. So let's do some comments before we go on to the attack. So big up yourself, Luke. Big up Chairman. Luke saying a 2-1 win to Palace. I'd love to see us score a goal. Whether we score 2 or not is what it is.
First goal at Spurs Stadium.
I'm going to the game, but this game going to be a reality check moment. Big up Goat and Dan Guardiola. Pat, if you're going to be there, you can meet the GOAT. Luke is saying Gay is out for 8 weeks. I've seen too much. Palace feels like a stinky game. This is saying Dan's gone. Robo Dan. Dial up Dan. Pixel Dan. Dan last like Santa. One good thing, Porro is out. We need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. Emerson isn't a very good defender.
I agree. But I feel like even though Emerson isn't as good of a defender, I think that Porro leaves himself more vulnerable. So maybe in that sense, it's a bad thing. But if you're looking at the other way around about how we're going to defend against Porro, then definitely a good thing he's gone. Porro's gained a rep in my mind of being dangerous against us. There have been a few Tottenham players over the years that have. I think Maddison's even dangerous against us as well historically. Like Kane always used to score against us. Son always scores against us. Pat's going 2-1 Spurs, Emerson and Ayew. My prediction, and he's pausing something, but I've got no idea.
No, I don't know either.
Dan, are you ready to do the attack?
Let's go. Okay, so let's get this on. So Spurs' defense is definitely their weak point this season. So just as a couple stats for you, while Spurs have generated the 8th best expected goals this season, they've also conceded the 8th worst amount of expected goals. So I think you can see where they perhaps balance out a little bit. And to be honest with you, as JC said, they like to commit a lot of players forward to the point where you might end up having a shape like this. I honestly think, and I've said this about a lot of teams, I tend to find that their biggest threats also tends to be their biggest weaknesses for some reason, in terms of like if you switch the play up on them. So let's say, I don't know, Udogie's moved inside, Basuma's back.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I've sort of found a bit ironic is that if you play the same style that someone plays against you, you'll be effective against them.
Yeah, I find it really odd why that is. But so with that in mind, Spurs are quite susceptible to transitions. And I think that's shown by the fact that they have the second highest, joint second highest expected goals per shot per game. So on average, if a team has a shot against them, they will have an XG of 0.12, not including penalties, which is really high. Like that's joint second. For comparison, the average tends to be about 0.11, 0.10. I know it doesn't sound like a huge difference, but when you consider most teams take about 10 to 15 shots per game, like between 10 to 15 shots per game, that is quite significant, really. Because suppose if you have even if it's 0.01, that times 10 is still 0.1 xg. Do you know what I mean? So it's still quite a lot. That's still quite a lot, really. And I think that is reflected in the way that they play. So firstly, we've obviously got the counter attack. So JC talked about the kind of positions that they'll find themselves in. Generally, they'll have a rest defense of pretty much just Romero and Van der Ven. They're very attacking in that sense. So with that in mind, if we're able to get the ball and break quickly, that's something that we're going to be able to do. The only thing I think that kind of covers Spurs a little bit is that Van der Ven is actually surprisingly very quick. Romero, not so much. But Van der Ven, I think, has been recorded as being the fastest player in a Premier League game this season, I think. So obviously we want to try
as fast as Usain Bolt. That's how fast he is.
Oh yeah. That was it, wasn't it? I remember now. Yeah.
I think he's got 37.4 kilometers per hour, but then Usain Bolt hit 37.8. So he's really not that much slower than him.
Yeah.
He's in the wrong sport. Retire, become a sprinter, please.
I don't know. I think he's earning more money as a first player, to be honest. But yeah, so I think as long as we say that we do manage to win the ball here, generally speaking, what Spurs like to do with their counter press, they like to counter press extremely quickly, and I think that might be another reason why they have such a high expected goals per shot they concede as well. Because if you think about it, let's say that everyone presses as quickly as possible, that does leave a lot of gaps. But if say, I don't know, Chris Richards does manage to get the ball out to Adam Wharton, you know, because of the press, you've committed so many players to one specific part of the pitch, and then that will enable us to then break. And like I said, Van der Ven is quite quick. So in my opinion, really, we should try to use the left-hand side as an outlet. So also then
Romero is always a red card waiting to happen as well.
Yeah, he's quite clumsy sometimes. So I think if we can exploit that side, that would definitely be a much better thing to do. Another thing
in that case, maybe sorry for interrupting, just a little curveball there. Maybe if we're trying to attack Romero here, maybe in this game, maybe we play France on the right and Ayew on the left, because Ayew gets fouled and is a lot harder to get the ball off of than Eddie sometimes.
Maybe. My only thing with Ayew is that I don't think... what did you say? France on the left, Ayew on the right?
No, France on the right, Ayew on the left.
Only thing with that is I don't think Ayew's quick. I think Eddie's quicker than Ayew, not by much. But, I mean, to be honest, we don't really have any quick players.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if it was like Ebbs even Ebbs isn't that quick. But either way, regardless of who's on that left-hand side, I think we should try to exploit Romero there in this particular situation. But one thing that that Spurs do is really notable. They do, and I mean, this is pretty well known, but they do press very, very intensely. So let's say we do play out from the back. So let's say Munoz pushed up, got our two outlets here, got JPM holding the line, and so on and so forth. So we got our three centre backs here. They will press us very intensely. Like they've got one of the most, well, they probably got the most intense press in the league, even more so than teams like Newcastle. So you can guarantee that when they do, and they tend to go more man-to-man as well in this particular scenario. So let's say, I don't know, Anton's got the ball here, passes to Lerma. Sar's going to be immediately on Lerma. Kulusevski's going to block any kind of passing lanes as well. Richarlison's perhaps going to come back as well to try and win that ball as high up as possible. And obviously, like I said before, if you've got an intense press, especially one that is a man-to-man kind of press, problem is that it all falls apart if one doesn't work. So let's say, for example, we had that situation with Lerma here. Let's say we're quite quick about it, and Water manages to find his space here, and Lerma does an excellent pass here. You know, you've already taken 3-4 players out of the game. And then with that in mind, then we can go on the front foot, and then we've got more options here. And then another thing with Spurs as well, and again, I think all of this is very linked to that stat that I said about how they've got the second highest conceded XG per shot. They hold a very, very high line.
Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, because of the way Glasner likes to use his forwards, I think we're going to enjoy that. The reason why I say that is, one, Glasner likes his teams, as we saw against Burnley, to try and put those passes in behind, regardless whether it's here, whether it's to the wing, just anywhere in this gap behind. And because Spurs do play such a high line, I think that's going to be useful. The only thing is that obviously I think Spurs' back line, apart from Romero, is relatively quick. I think Emerson's not too bad. Van der Ven, as we know, is quite quick. Udogie, I think, is pretty quick as well. So we'll need to time it right. But what this means as well is that I think we're going to be able to exploit the wings, because generally what a Glasner side likes to do, or at least did at Frankfurt, is he likes to use these forwards to try and pin defence, because basically what you're causing here is you're causing these defenders to shift more narrow. The reason why that is because, well, say that Udogie's there, you know, you've got a massive gap for the player to run into. So that means that your defence has to move inside. And then the reason why we then play wing backs is then to exploit this space here. And I think Son and Kulusevski less so, but Son isn't very good defensively. I don't think Maddison's very useful defensively either. Basuma and Sarr will probably be better at screening the defence.
Yeah, I think Sarr is probably one of the better younger players in the league as well.
Oh yeah. No, he's a very, very good player, and he's very, very integral to the way Spurs play as well. Like he'll move in between the lines. Where sometimes Spurs might build up with a back two, sometimes he'll drop and then he'll be a back three. So he's a very versatile player, and he's very important. And I think he scored against Brighton, so he scores goals as well. But I think this we can use to exploit their defence. Now, this situation I don't think would happen very often, because I think this will be a very transition type game. I think we're going to be looking to hit them on the break. And as we know, they're going to try and win the ball generally in this kind of area to then try and hit us with the space in behind, and generally try to get us in a position where we're not in a low block. Because as JC said, well, we use a back five, and Spurs did struggle against Wolves the other week with a back five. So I think it's going to be a very transitional based game. And so therefore, I think it's going to be more an you got to take the opportunity when it arises, and you got to make sure you break well. So this, I don't think will happen very often. I think the thing that's going to happen most is bringing it back here, something like this. And then say we win the ball here, and then we just got to go for it. I think we got to be brave, which under Glasner, I think we will be. And let's say we do win the ball in this position, we got to be quick, because otherwise their counter pressure is going to work. And then they're going to turn it over in this area, and then they're going to get a chance. But that's generally what I would say. And I think, like I said, just to summarise, I think that is. Those three things are exemplified by the fact that they concede the most expected goals per shot the second most of any team in the league, and that's typified by the fact they hold such a high line, which means there's lots of space to play in behind, and also they do like to press really high, which could, if it doesn't work for whatever reason, or we're too quick for them, then that can cause them problems. That's why I think teams like Brighton and Newcastle tend to have caused them problems this season.
Yeah, and Wolves.
And Wolves, yeah, exactly, have tended to cause them
Like
problems
Neto,
this
for
season.
example, was ripping him a new one, really, because of his speed and how good he is out wide.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched. I watched that Wolves game. Well, no, did I watch it? I watched some of the highlights, and yeah, they basically hit him on that break all the time, and Spurs found it difficult to deal with at times. And especially
it was always in a, as you said before, every time that Wolves scored, it was always in a transition. They didn't play into it. Like, for example, when Neto went through to get the assist, I believe, I think that I think Davies was caught out of position up the pitch, and Neto picked up the ball and ran it from the halfway line.
Yeah,
pretty much, because he had so much space to run into. Granted, Van der Ven is extremely fast and he caught up to him, but by the time he gets to him, he's already at the other end of the pitch because Neto is fast as well.
Yeah. And I think actually Pat's brought. Yeah, I was going to say Pat's brought that up, which
because we all saw the images of him there, and he's studied them, isn't it? This is something that we haven't seen from Hodgson.
Yeah,
Glasner's gone there and he's studied them before he's even technically got the job. So, like, having a forward-thinking manager, he's probably been making like a strategy of how to beat them for a few weeks now, maybe even a month.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, I was about to get that comment as well. I think Collis Felix, I think you're absolutely right. Spurs are hit and miss. They lost to Wolves at home last week. And I think their defence is quite frail. And I think that is I think the thing is, I think they will score against us. So I think it's a matter of we just got to score more than they do.
Mm-hmm. Go back to like original Arsenal again. Score more than they do.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin Keegan.
Have you got any images, or are we good to go on to score predictions?
No, go on to score predictions.
So, score predictions. I threw you under the bus last week, so I will happily throw myself under the bus this week. I am going from seeing 0 goals scored by Crystal Palace to a 2-2 draw.
Oh,
I am quietly confident. I feel like the new manager bounce. I feel the fact that we will create. I know Burnley had 10 men, and I know that they're Burnley and they're crap. But before they had 10 men, complete domination. And I haven't seen Palace have that work rate, have that desire for a very long time. And I feel like coupling that to a new manager bounce, a completely new system, which Spurs won't be completely ready for, and Glasner's actually had time at the Spurs stadium watching them and thinking about how they're going to play, and he's had a whole few weeks to think about how to beat them or how to get a point out of this game. I feel like they're not going to expect us to be as good as we are with as many injuries as we've got. So I'm going to go 2-2. It's a very bold prediction to even think that we're going to score a goal at Tottenham. But I think maybe Eze coming into the team, maybe going on for the last 10 minutes, and maybe you could get a late goal that way. But,
you know what?
I'm going 2-2.
I was actually going to go 1-1. I am going 1-1. So we both think that we're going to get something out of this game. Whether we're deluded or not, who knows?
We'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, we're both quietly confident. So I don't think Spurs on they're not invincible at home. Like I said, Wolves beat them last week, so I don't see there's any reason that we can't also just nick a point or something.
Well, yeah, Spurs are 5th, but they've only won 2 in their last 6 games. So,
Yeah.
They're not unbeatable. Let's say like Brighton got I think they beat Brighton, but they only beat them on the 96th minute, even though they only had 4 minutes of injury time. I think they drew against Everton. I want to say they drew against someone. Yeah, they drew. Yeah, so they lost to Wolves. They beat Brighton in the last minute of the game. They drew to Everton 2-2. They beat Brentford 3-2, and
Yeah.
their last so they beat them 3-2. So that was a close game as well. So they don't really kill anyone, do they? Like they beat Burnley 1-0.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well. I think as well they have struggled a little bit, admittedly with Udogie and Porro both out. Like I honestly think that one of their most key positions is their wing backs. I think having them two out has been a big blow, and I think they have struggled a little bit against low blocks. Like I said, Wolves played a five at the back, effectively a five at the back out of possession against them, and they didn't create huge amount of chances really.
Definitely. Pat saying, "Are we scoring the fourth?" I think we're equalising late. I'll say that.
Flipping the tables.
If I'm gonna pick the scorers though, I'm gonna go Ayew again. I think Ayew's in some good form.
Eddie, it's his time.
No, I'm going to Munoz. Arriving late in the box, inverting fullback, bicycle kit. No, I'm joking. Before we wrap up, we gave us the score predictions. Please put in the comments what your score predictions is. Before the stream actually started, I put a poll up. The poll says, what is the result versus Spurs? 41% of people said a draw. And this is what's surprising. 47% of people said a Palace win. And 12% said a Spurs win. So
really? Wow.
So you guys must be very confident as well.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That means we're definitely losing now.
Yeah. You have ruined it for all of us.
I hope you can't look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, I hope you cry tonight. Yeah, it's a bit much.
Cool.
Chairman says my prediction is a few drinks in the Witherspoons. Your prediction is pretty bang on. You might want to put some money on that one. And Franca is. Oh, was that Francia?
Franca.
The apostrophe is on the wrong side. Is a certainty to score this week. I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't got to the hour yet, but I will just talk about this quickly. Do you think that Franca should have gotten the penalty because he won it?
I think at that point in the game, I didn't see any harm in him taking it.
Yeah.
Because it was a third goal. Yeah, it was a third goal, so I don't see any harm in that. Cool.
Guys, thank you very, very much for watching. This is the Tottenham versus Crystal Palace TACT Eagle. Preview tomorrow. New Glasner press on Friday. Game on Saturday. Vlog hopefully Saturday night. And I don't think we're going to do a review Sunday, but we might do it on Monday. And then the whole cycle rolls around all over again. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Please hit that notification bell so you get notified half an hour before every stream and when every video goes live. There's only one thing left to say. Up the Palace.
Up the Palace.
Eagles!